Here we have a 1975 Honda CB360 that we just finished up. This customer reached out to us. He'd seen some of the other work that we'd done online and really liked it. He did not have a donor bike of his own, so luckily we had a CB360 here in the shop, titled and ready to go, so we compared notes and got to work. As with a lot of our builds, this bike got a custom subframe. We really were trying to clean this up and slim it down from its stock form. So we've got the custom subframe here, a custom seat hoop that actually has an integrated LED turn signal taillight strip in the back here. One of the other big changes from the stock CB360 is we used a different tank. This is actually a tank from a CL350, the little bit older bike in the Scrambler model. So this tank's a little bit shorter, has a little bit different shape. One of the things that you'll notice if you look at the CL350s or even the CL360 for that matter, is these tanks tend to not look like they're flat on the frame. One of the things we really wanted to do is make sure that we flattened this out and got a nice line from front to back between this tank and the subframe here. So we had to modify the tank mount, both front and back on this bike to make sure everything worked, and then also make sure that everything in the tunnel underneath fit just fine. So now we've got a nice flow from the tank into the custom seat pan here. We custom upholstered this seat as well to give it a nice clean, streamlined look. One of the requests we got from the customer was to have a rack on the back that was easy to remove and put back on. So this is just big enough to carry a jacket or a small bag, and it's about a 2-minute process to put it on. We have 4 little 8mm bosses here on the frame. We remove these 4 bolts, take the rack off, super easy and super convenient. And this rack actually flows really well with the lines of the bike as well. So we tried to pick up the angle of the frame here and the angle of the stitching on the bike and have the whole belt line of the bike be nice and cohesive. The wheels were rebuilt on this bike. We put aluminum rims on it and stainless steel spokes. So we've got 18-inch front and back with dual sport tires on it. Hubs were rebuilt and powder coated black along with a lot of the other parts on this bike. We actually powder coated these rims in a gold color to match the gold that we were using on the tank to really kind of tie everything together. The color on this tank, the customer was interested in a Baylor University green and gold sort of theme, so that's what led us down this road. We ended up deciding on a modified Honda wing logo. This is sort of the more modern Honda wing logo, but we modified it to fit the tank a little bit better and also straightened out the trailing edge of this wing so that it runs parallel to the stripes on the tank, and then all of these lines run parallel with the fork leg in the front as well, which is just sort of a nice touch that you don't necessarily notice unless somebody points it out to you, but it kind of ties everything together really well. We did freshen up the engine on this bike. We ported and rebuilt the head and then honed and re-ringed the cylinders here. This was otherwise a good engine though. We went ahead and also put Mikuni VM30 aftermarket carburetors on this to give it a little bit better responsiveness, but these are great carburetors to use on these bikes. The exhaust here is actually, the bike is a CB360, the non-Scrambler version. This exhaust came from a CL360, the Scrambler version. We did have to modify it a little bit to sort of fit the lines we were after, and then we fitted some shorty mufflers on here as well. All of the exhaust was Cerakoted black, and then we kept a little heat shield here, again modified from the original version as well. Some of the other touches on this bike that are easy to miss, this is obviously an aftermarket headlight bucket, but we made a custom bottom mount for this on the triple tree. And the front headlight unit here is actually an integrated headlight turn signal unit. So it's all integrated into this bucket. We also added indicator LEDs right here in the bucket as well. So our turn signal, neutral, and high beam lights are all right here in the headlight bucket. Things cleaned up a little bit more with this TrailTech Vapor digital speedometer and tachometer here, as opposed to the original analog gauges. This bike got a new master cylinder, a rebuilt caliper, and a new drilled front rotor here, along with a stainless steel brake line. We had aftermarket shocks in the rear here that give us a little bit of control over the preload and the damping versus the stock shocks, and then we rebuilt the front forks as well. Even some of the smaller details on the bike here really kind of tie everything together. We're using vintage style reproduction controls on the handlebars here, but these are from a Kawasaki instead of a Honda. The Honda lettering tends to be red. The Kawasaki has a gold lettering here, which ties in with the paint theme that we were looking for, and is just sort of a nice touch. We also have a gold barrel adjuster here on the for the clutch cable as well. Overall, there's not one feature on this bike that really stands out, but that's kind of how we designed these intentionally. All of the features and details here, we're really looking to just sort of bring them together for a nice cohesive overall look. Not too many bells and whistles and not too many over-the-top details, but a nice cohesive finished product. Overall, we love how this bike turned out. This is a ton of fun to ride, and we love to look at it too. Customer's really excited. This bike actually gets picked up in a couple of days and heads home to California. Leave us a comment and let us know what you like best about this bike, or maybe what you would have done differently. We've got a lot of things in the works, so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for what's coming next.